If your ads got hard in the last 12 months, it's not because you got worse. It's because AI has changed the entire landscape. AI is now doing the bidding, the targeting, even the creative. So if you're still trying to optimize campaigns, you're playing a game that's no longer relevant. The brands spending less than you in ads and still beating you are not doing it because of their actual ad setup. At the end, I'm going to show you what's actually driving growth for brands, whether it's on Amazon, Meta for Shopify, or even TikTok Shop. I'm Jasim, Eisa, CEO and founder of Voadera. We've sold hundreds of millions of dollars on online marketplaces like Amazon, and I talk to brands every week who are spending more on ads and getting worse results. This video is going to explain why that's happening, the change that's relevant for today, and completely shift your view on advertising. The first thing to understand is that AI killed your tactical edge. If you're relying on understanding negative placements very well, or specific audiences, or basically being technically savvy within the ad platform to win, that's no longer going to be a winning strategy moving forward. There's something else I'm going to mention it later in the video, but basically if you're a savant and the exact bid strategy, or I know this audience is really good, it's still, I'll tell you this, for Amazon it's still very relevant, but on Meta it's disappearing very fast, especially like when you're looking at audiences, all that kind of stuff. AI is now starting to understand who your audience is, what kind of ad to show them that attracts them the most, all that kind of stuff. The algorithm is learning it very, very quickly. I'll tell you this story. I was at eTail a few months ago. There was a lot of blue chip brands there, and I was talking to the media manager for 511 Tactical. Their brand is $500 million. On Amazon alone, it's like $40 or $50 million. And he was saying that as much as he fought it with his team, they were initially going audiences specifically. They wanted to control what they're targeting, being very tactical for who they're going after. And basically he said that I resisted it a year ago and I was still more efficient. But today we're going broad with everything and it's much more efficient than what we had before. So we stopped resisting the change and we started going broad with everything. And it's crazy to see what they're doing with that, the growth that they've seen. And that's just one example. And if you think that, okay, now that the ad angle is no longer relevant, let me go into something else like the creative. Well, guess what? AI commoditized that too. Even that is changing very rapidly. Which leads us to our second point. The second point is that creative and even the copy is being commoditized too. I'll tell you just for our example, when we're going to Notebook LM, right? And we're loading all of our customer data, our reviews, all of that, the copy that produces is absolutely insane. It talks specifically to the customer needs at a level we can't even fathom to understand. At a level, even if we surveyed our customers, they wouldn't even be able to tell us. I'll just tell you one example. We have a certain product that's basically simple commoditized buckets, right? And one of the things that the customers like is that the grip on the top has a sticky grip. It costs us 30 cents to manufacture extra, and we doubled down on it. Now it costs 40 cents to be a little bit more grippy at the top. And with that, our star rating went from 4.2 to 4.4 over the case of a few months. And if we hadn't doubled down on that specific item and we hadn't given Notebook LM all the data on what the customer wants and what they wouldn't have included that. So now even our copy for the ads, it writes that in there. And we have specific ads that have the grip, showing the grip at the top for that specifically to show that it's non-slippery. So we have certain customer, and I don't know how AI is telling this. It's crazy what, especially Meta specifically, knows about customers to populate that specific one in front of them for certain people that care about it. But the conversion is insane. So that's where you're using pixel targeting and all that kind of stuff, basically to signal and let Meta or Amazon be creative with what it is. Even going back to Amazon, it's still a little bit lagging where SKCs or single keyword campaigns are still very relevant. Audience targeting, all that kind of stuff, keyword gaps. But we're seeing more and more auto campaigns performing more efficiently. And this is a trend we're starting to see this year. This wasn't true. It was known in the past that if everything's run on auto campaign, that's basically throwing money in the garbage. You only use auto campaigns to harvest keywords, all that kind of stuff. But with AI, there's no doubt about it that auto campaigns are becoming more efficient. So now when we have creative not only producing amazing copy based on insane data that we feed it, but also it's producing more copy. So not only is the copy better, but it's even more, whether that's even the creative itself, using things like Gemini. Again, that's still a little bit behind, but still it's becoming very, very good, very, very fast. but it's also producing more variants for testing. So now when we're putting up ad creative, whether we're using sponsored product video, sponsored brand, sponsored display, we're able to push out much more to let the algorithm test it, to let AI test it with specific audiences. So that's where creative is also being commoditized. So then you ask, okay, if the targets and the specific tactical stuff for the negative placement audiences is not an edge, neither is the creative, so then what does that lead to? And that's exactly the point of this video. And what I wanted to get into is that offer and conversion has become more relevant than ever. The first one I want to start with is listing optimization. And this is extremely crucial, is that your listing really has to nail all the basics. It has to have, obviously, we're not talking about the basics of retail readiness, right? Where it has the full image stack, 6 or 7 images on your PDP, product detail page, and then it also has a video. But even beyond that, you want to make sure that it goes through your customer's mental checklist. Again, you take a screenshot when you have that notebook LM data and you send it to ChatGPT. Does this cover all the checklists? One famous story that, at least famous in our company, I repeat it with them all the time. But I was at my uncle's house and I knew his wife was looking for a playmat for her kids. So I didn't tell her it was ours. I don't want her to be biased. But I showed it to her and I was like, would you buy this one? She looked at it for 2-3 seconds. Again, that's how much a customer looks if you're being realistic. And she's like, no. I was like, why? She's like, where's the testing for this? How do you know it's legit? And actually was tested, but lo and behold, we had it hidden in the third bullet point. And no one's gonna look there, especially on a phone. You have to scroll down, it's even tougher. So we added that to the second or third image. Lo and behold, our conversion rate improved because that mental checklist for a customer, they don't even know what it is. That's why it's important to actually feed the backend data into AI, because there's implied checklists. There's stuff that people don't subconsciously need that they don't speak through, but within the data, it's uncovered. And that's what Meta is doing really good, because sometimes it really knows stuff you don't do, but based on your activity, there's that subconscious need that you have that it's able to portray really strongly. So make sure that your listing catches all the basics, it has all of that ready. So either way, even without this change, conversion rate was absolutely crucial, because if you're sending 1,000 people to a listing, you're paying for 100 clicks. Let's say 1,000 people saw it, 100 clicks saw it. The difference between 8 buying and 14 buying, 8% conversion rate, 14% conversion rate, could make an entire ad profitable. But now, even more, with whether it's Rufus recommending stuff, and they recommend stuff based on conversion, or even ChatGPT also recommending stuff based on conversion, reviews, all that kind of stuff. With AI, conversion rate and the actual quality of the offer is becoming more important than ever, which I continuously stress, is that you used to be able to kind of hack and cheat your way into selling crap with low reviews with good PPC. You kind of, back in the past, keyword stuffing, now it's intent-based keywords. Again, so many changes are basically come down to Amazon shifting more towards a healthier customer journey. They want the customer to actually buy something that they wanted and they liked. And that's what they measure conversion rate based off of, and the quality of the product. It displays their needs appropriately. So going back to that entire picture, I have another actually good example. Is we had an item with the ads were optimized like crazy. We got one of the best ads people. They targeted the right keywords. They set up the right campaign structure, loose, match, phrase, broad, all that kind of stuff. They did a video for it, everything. But the sales weren't going up. And we did a deep diagnosis. Okay, the sessions are going up, so the ads are working, they're doing their job. The goal of ads' job is not to sell more, right? It's a big misconception. It's so that people see your product more. And eventually people see your product more, hopefully more of them buy. But more people were seeing it, fractionally, a little bit more people bought, but absolutely, on an absolute level, not really, because the conversion rate was so low. So that's when we looked at the story of the listing. What's going on in the back end? Are the images telling a story? So this item was a lunchbox. Are we conveying our customer avatar using this item, using it for their needs? One of the simple examples, again, going to a mental checklist and a story, was that the customer was using this during their lunch break, obviously, right? And one of the things that one of our creative specialists caught, and was very smart catch, and this raised conversion rate 15-20%, was that one of the images, it says 20 minutes to heat. In reality, 20 minutes was full capacity. The truth is, in 10 minutes, it would be enough to heat and eat it. What's the issue with that? Is that the lunch break is 30 minutes. So if they're waiting 20 minutes for it to heat, they're going to think they don't have anything to eat. They're not going to have enough time to eat it. And it was creating an objection, this was on the third image, in the customer's mind that they couldn't buy it. So they would scroll down, go to the next offer. Subconsciously, quickly think, even though the next offer, it was exactly the same specifications for that. We did research and it was the same thing. But taking that out and telling a more convenient story that the customer, okay, I can buy this, I can use it in my lunch, everything's gonna go through smooth. That's what they want to see. So that's actually going back to one of the main concepts I kind of speak about, is the difference between value and perceived value. The customer that went to our competitor's lunchbox instead of ours, they're getting the same value, the same product. Actually, ours was $5 cheaper even in that case, because we were trying to rank it aggressively. But the perceived value was higher for the competitor. It was a better story, better overall match. So they went with them eventually. So that's where, again, going back to the offer, the conversion rate, there's so many factors that influence the offer, whether it's reviews, ratings. So reviews, the amount of reviews you have, ratings is a star rating that you have. The price, obviously, the images, the story, the bullet points, the premium A+ content but one of the biggest things is simplicity and clarity. If someone can come to your listing, and this is one of my favorite tests for a listing, is if they put their hand, unless it's a very technical product, right? I'm talking simple products. If they put their hand on a title, can someone tell what that product is in 2 or 3 seconds? Okay, now the other way around, obviously, if they put their hand on the image, just looking at the title, can in 2 to 3 seconds someone tell what the product is? Can you convey the value of your product compared to others in 2 to 3 seconds? The offer, the perceived value. Again, going back to how can I make this look better? If there's any tests, certifications, add those, let them see that. Because even if you had a test but you didn't show it, the value is there, but the perceived value isn't there because they're not seeing it. So this just goes to convey how much offer is becoming more important, how much the actual product, the customer experience, customer satisfaction is becoming very valuable. I have a video specifically on offers. You can watch it later. And if you've enjoyed this content, by the way, leave a like. And one of the important things to also keep in mind is that the brands running right now, they really have stronger positioning, clearer positioning, higher brand quality, they're hitting on the most basic concepts. Whether you look at brands that just sold or went very high, even Poppy, Poppy existed as a product before, but the perceived value with the positioning and the clear positioning, gut health, all that kind of stuff. And there's even famous videos on YouTube where they kind of take a traditional product like a Reese's peanut butter and they keep the same product, but they change the packaging to make it seem protein or healthy. And that's really the truth of a lot of marketing is today. Is sadly that obviously you want to redo your product to be good as possible, but you want to make sure that you're focusing on the perceived value and the marketing behind it to make it look like that. And I have actually one of my predictions that a lot of ad agencies that exist out there, they're actually going to change to conversion agencies, focus on the conversion, all that kind of stuff, because really the technicalities of ads, I predict is going to be very outdated, similar to typewriter in a few years, or at least the dynamic of it, especially with AI, is changing very, very rapidly. So make sure you take these changes into account for your brand. If you found this helpful, make sure to watch this video. And if you're a brand doing over $1 million a year, come check us out at Voadera.com.